Communication is at the very heart of human interaction. So it's vital that you learn how to recognize your own self-talk, so your inner talk, but also the conversations and communications of the people around you. So if you are more aware of these structures and how to apply them on yourself as well as on others, you will be able to bridge that realm towards somebody else in ways you've never seen or done before. It's, of course, I can teach you in a few minutes, but it takes a lifetime to truly master it. But hey, let's start anyway. So we're going to discuss 4 things. First of all, the communication frameworks. So improve your awareness of the self as well as of the others. That's the second part. So become more aware of other people, so to say, to how to recognize their frameworks. And then thirdly, sort of a super hack. So listen and observe. So what does it mean? How do you do that? It's a high level overview. We go way more in depth in other categories, but we can't do it all in one video. And then fourth, we will finish with a sort of a main structure for a 30-day plan. Yeah. So the importance of effective communication is, in this video, is all about the importance of effective communication. Explore different communication styles, practice self-reflection, and basically to jumpstart you in the realm of communication. Just remember, when you have troubles, realize that everybody is seeing things from a different perspective. It's like putting on different types of glasses. You may be wearing red glasses where somebody else may be wearing yellow glasses. So what do I mean with these colors? In general, you have many different frameworks, but like with the ocean model, you also have sort of 4 different colors. So here you can see the disc profile with in the upper left the blue color, and then below that the green, and on the right side the yellow and red. Different models change these colors, so it's not always that these things may mean the same thing, but in general the left side of the model is sort of the introvert side of the spectrum, the right side of the brain, and the other half is the left side of the brain. So it's like watching somebody's brain from up top. Okay, so the blue version, it's all about analytical goal orientation and structure, I would say. Or no, let's stick with goal orientated. The green part would be the structure part, when I'm talking about the disc model. Red would be emotional, and yellow would be creative in this case. So you can do these tests for free, and I'll drop a link in the further readings made possible by the Tony Robbins website, where you can do a first test. But of course, if you pay for the models, you go deeper, you get more information, and they give you advices and so forth. Keep in mind that it's a superficial way to see human beings. It's the first layer of a person, but that's often the way you interact with your fellow human beings, so to say. Just a day-by-day conversations on a superficial level. But no, there is a tremendous cave of depth, so to say, behind that communication style. So sometimes you say something and you mean something entirely different, or you think you actually say something in some way, but somebody interpreted it in a different way. So keep that in mind. This is not the holy grail that will give you access to becoming a master communication. For that, you do need to dive deeper. Okay, so back to the model. There's another model. I think it originates from Carl Jung, the famous psychologist from the 50s in previous decade or century. And in this case, you see the good day, as well as I will show you the bad day afterwards. But in a good day, the blue is seen as cautious, as somebody who's precise, questioning, formal. The green is caring, encouraging. It's sort of the earth person. The yellow color would be the sociable, the dynamic, the enthusiastic, the energetic person. And fiery red is competitive, getting things done, strong-willed. And as with the ocean model, the same applies for these colors. For me, example, I'm sort of a mix. I don't have an over abundance of a particular color in a normal situation. But in my case, I also did a stress test. I did that in my past. As an auditor, you sometimes get stressed. So how do you respond in stress? When I am stressed, I tend to go into the red. So I dive into competition or more goal-orientated getting things done. Where others might search for a more social or a more structured approach, I will go in sprinting mode, so to say. So it's a good thing to know this of yourself, because this is a strength as well as a weakness. So sometimes, yes, it's very efficient if you get things done, but sometimes it's better, you already hold your horses, take a breather, and see if somebody else, for example, can solve your problem, or do it within a team, or perhaps get a more analytical approach. So this is how you can apply this knowledge in your life. Of course, it's very valuable if you know what your first layer of communication is. Not only that, it comes with a few perks. So now I'm switching to the second part, where we also discuss or apply this on others. So if you know that somebody is communicating from a yellow perspective, those are the enthusiastic people, they are talking about themselves a lot or what they're doing, or they're very energetic. If they're blue, they're a bit more distant, bit more reserved, bit more cold, so to say. Several things are of importance when you communicate with other colors, so to say. First of all, in your love life, opposites attract. So you've got masculine and feminine energy, but the same applies with communication. So you are more attracted by your opposite, so to say. That, of course, doesn't apply for everybody, and sometimes it's good to be in the same realm, but somehow we attract each other. It's sort of an energetic thing, it might be, perhaps. So be aware of that. So when searching for partners, and if you see you are engaged or not engaged with somebody else, this might be something that triggers you. And know that there is a layer behind that communication. So perhaps give somebody a little bit of wiggle room here and there. Yeah. So other than that, why you think your fiery red or your happy yellow might be your strength, somebody else might think that's as annoying as it can come. So if it's an opposite, you are often in each other's allergic zones, so to say. So somebody who's very extroverted and open and amicable and enthusiastic, so the yellowish sort of person, they are disconnected, so to say, when a blue person enters the room, somebody who's reserved or indecisive or cold, so to say. So realize then when you are dealing with somebody from that wears different glasses, so to say, it's probably best to tend or to adjust your communication strategy, because then you enter their realm, and it's not that you are pulling them in, so to say, because the harder you start to pull on somebody, the more they start to become defensive, so to say. So to get rid of these walls, it's best that you mimic somebody's style. And you can do that with a report, so mimic body language or neuro-linguistic programming. And we will teach you how in other videos. But let's stick here in the communication, which is the easy way. Just approach them from their same level. Adjust your energy. So if you are more of a cool blue person, so to say, adjust your energy if you're dealing with somebody who's fiery red. So become more goal-orientated, or become more docile if you're dealing with somebody who's green, which is probably easier for you as you are both introverted. But if you're doing extroverted, tend to open up a little bit, throw in a little bit of energy, and you will see that you will way easily get bridges, because people like to deal with people who are like themselves. So yeah, that's like an easy hack to do that. The opposites, you might feel like, hey, I'm in a good day, I am sociable, I'm dynamic, I am enthusiastic, persuasive as a yellow person. Realize or become aware that somebody from the opposite color might see you as frantic, indiscreet, flamboyant, hasty, whatsoever. So we'll upload the good and the bad days here so you can compare them for a sec. Hit the pause button if you want to learn more or visit the original source. But realize that opposites often tend to see each other, the negative things. However, on a deeper level, they also attract each other. Yeah? The trick, enter part 3. The trick is all about becoming more aware of this. And this can be done via training. So take this example. So what's this word? Silk. Well, cows drink. No, they don't drink milk. So the same concept applies. You think you communicated something to somebody else, but the interpretation, your subconscious, takes a spin on you. A good book on this regard, in this regard, is Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow from Kahneman. He even won a Nobel Prize for this. But your subconscious continuously keeps screwing with your brain. And of course, this happens with communication as well. And it goes both ways. You think you said something and somebody interpreted it entirely differently. So blue mentally calculates, well, in short, I'm dropping here sort of a summary of the colors. And what I want to add here is to become more aware of others. You make the unconscious conscious. So how do you do that? It is by listening, as I mentioned in previous video. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth. So tend to listen twice as much as you speak. But the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So you think you said something, but it did not resonate or did not stick with somebody else. So give the others the gift that you communicate in their style. Because people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So they may forget what you said, even what you did, but how you made them feel is where core memories are made, and that's one of the last things that they will forget. So yeah, key tip, by the way, I highly recommend doing this. So do a sort of a self-scan. So everything that irritates you in other people is sort of a treasure of information about yourself. So a good friend of mine is very cold and reserved and he's analytical and he's like on his own. And I kept like, okay, why am I so annoyed by his communication style? It feels so cold. Why doesn't he open up? Why doesn't he show? It's like he's always on defense, so to say. And of course I was very familiar with the colors, but I couldn't get my finger behind it like, hey, what is it? And then I noticed I highly value his eye for detail, so to say. So he's very observative. And I myself am not. So I was more annoyed by myself that, hey, I know I should be more observative. I know I should take these colors more into account, but also take time to listen and basically do all the things that I tell you to do. So do as I say, not as I do. But it offers so much value to dive into these annoying things that you think is because of them, but in all honesty, you know as well as I do, probably the cause is somewhere is not resonating inside of yourself. So keep that in the back of your head. And that's discovered by the power of silence. So listening helps you to unravel your own personality so you can listen to yourself. But of course, it also helps you understand the other person better. And 1,001 more things, but that we will show you in the listening video. Again, final friendly reminder, when you do these exercises, keep in mind of opinion boy. Sticking labels is often the best way to disengage with somebody if you stick your own colorful label in it. Also, try to let somebody speak their mind. Do not interrupt. Do not take the advice exit, because the advice exit is killing for the conversation. Somebody perhaps might not be waiting for your advice, or you might be giving an advice from a totally different color than that person is, or perhaps that person is not there yet, just want to be heard, so to say, especially in feminine and masculine communication. Feminine energy often, and don't get me wrong, feminine can be in a male as well, often, and the other way around, of course. You can, feminine energy often tends to vent, just woo, 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 send. The only thing the masculine energy then needs to do is just listen. Don't jump in with conclusions or with advices. Just shut your mouth, throw away the key, and listen. And you will see, after these awkward moments, people tend to go even deeper and open up, so to say. So push through those awkward moments and magic will happen. As mentioned, this growth path is not for the faint of heart. So this does take courage. Final remark about colors before we dive into the 30-day plan, which you can also read in the further readings, of course. But keep in mind that there is no one cool right or wrong color, nor is the color black or negativity per se a bad thing. This is a drawing I stole from my daughter. She hasn't given it any notice yet, but I think the color black, and it's a personal opinion, but I think the color black makes this drawing fantastic. So definitely, if you feel down, if you feel grumpy, or if you notice that somebody else is grumpy, just remember they are forming the lines to paint your picture in. Yeah? So, I love my kids. 30-day plan. We're almost there. So how do you apply all these things? Of course, first of all, do the tests and get a bit of a hold of what exactly is it that your basic communication framework is all about. Remember, it's then about applying it to yourself and others. Try to stick your behaviors and do that the first 5 days. So in that, the second part, day 6 to 10, is practice this mindful listening. So first of all, engage in mindful exercises like eating your food with awareness. So taste every bite, taste the texture, all those things. But also do mindful walks or open awareness where you listen to the sounds, feel the wind on your skin, all those things. And then in the third part, in day 11 to 15, you migrate towards active listening. So in active listening, you summarize the speaker's points. You don't break up their sentences. You check their emotions. You check, hey, from which color do they move, so to say. Also, you can use sort of a checklist for yourself, like maintain eye contact. I need to speak for a sec. Use affirmative nods and gestures. Summarize. Avoid interrupting. One more time, do not interrupt or finish the speaker's sentence. Let them speak. And a pro tip from me to you, make it awkward. Let the silences be silent at moments. And that's where you are getting deeper and deeper. Which isn't easy, of course. And easy is being uncomfortable sometimes in a conversation. So don't create these fillers, I would say, if you want to see interesting stuff. Then the second part is a more advanced skill. Once again, I mentioned previously as well, empathy. So put yourself in their shoes. There are several empathetic listening techniques. I don't want to dive into too much, but it's, of course, the empathetic response. So try to feel what they're feeling, but also validate, like, hey, I think you mean this. Do you mean that? Then paraphrasing them. And of course, asking open-ended questions. Like, what do you mean with that? So to say, hey, or why do you feel like that? Then finally, some formalities: minimize distraction and start applying the concepts that I showed you in previous part. So realize their character trait or the personality traits, as well as their color combination, and you will get a long way. But once again, a final remark is, I can teach you this in 5 to 10 minutes. So now you are aware that this exists and that other people might use it against you, so to say, to convince you to do what they want. If you're still not convinced, they might use it for bad as well. Or you can use it for similar reasons. But be aware that this is just like poker. I can teach you in 5 or 10 minutes, or like chess, but it takes a lifetime to master. So yeah, so practice, do the following: practice self-reflection, observe others close, and listen to communication. Do not judge people solely based on this simple framework. Don't let your own biases influence other decisions, or stick to superficiality, so to say. And never forget, the power of silence is a super hack in communication, and consciousness/awareness, as well as with everything in life, is vital. So become more aware and start enjoying these deeper conversations. Truly, it will open up your world of possibilities.